Hi everybody, sumchief here. Today we're going to be completing the square of a quadratic. So when we complete the square of a quadratic, what is it we're trying to achieve and what does the answer actually mean? So I'm going to show you some steps to show you how to achieve this. So most common reason to complete the square of a quadratic is to find the vertex, or which is otherwise known as the turning point. So the turning point of these quadratics is here, here and here. Basically it means is this quadratic here is coming down in value, hits the low point and starts increasing in value. That's called the turning point. So it's where it starts changing direction. So 3 examples here: x squared plus 3x minus 4, which is this one; x squared minus 2x minus 3, which is this one; and 3x squared plus 5x minus 12, which is this one. They're the 3 we're going to look into today. So as we know, every quadratic is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a does not equal 0. See, if a was equal to 0, this value here would just not exist, because 0 squared is just 0, so there's no point writing in. You're just left with bx plus c. And bx plus c would be this shape, or this kind of shape, or something like this, in which case it'd just be a straight line. It's not something we need to worry about too much when we're dealing with quadratics. So when you complete the square, your answer will look something like this with these values here. And then a bit later on, you can use this formula here. This is a shortcut formula. So when you get confident in completing the square of quadratic, this will lead you straight to the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next, the first quadratic and see what we can do. So first quadratic is x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0, where a is 1, b is 3, c equals minus 4. So I've got the quadratic written here, x squared plus 3x minus 4. So the first thing we do is put brackets around the x values, and we're going to factor out the x. So if you factor out an x out of x squared plus 3x plus 3x squared plus 3x, you're left with x plus 3. And if you have x plus 3 and times it by x plus 3, when you FOIL it out, you'll be left with 6x. You've got a plus 3x and a plus 3x, that's plus 6x. So you need to divide by 2 when you square out the factor. So x plus 3, which is what we've taken out there, and we've divided it by 2. And we put the square back in there. So that's what you do, is you factor out the x, so that's what we've done there, x plus 3, and divided this b value by 2. That way then we're not changing the value of the x squared or the 3x. But what we have changed the value of is here, you've got this 3 and this 3, you've then got 9, and that's no good for us. So what we do is, with this 3 over 2, we then subtract the 3 over 2 squared, because what we've done is we've divided the b value by 2. So you would have a 3 over 2 and a 3 over 2 here. So then you subtract 3 over 2 squared, and also the minus 4 you just bring down. You don't touch with that until the very end. So simplify it up a little bit. So you still got the x plus 3 over 2 squared. That's fine. Then 3 squared and 2 squared is 9 over 4. So that's that 9 over 4 there. And then minus 4 again, just bring down. So now what you can do is your minus 9 over 4 and your minus 4, you can sum them up and just put them together as one value. So minus 4 and minus 9 over 4 becomes minus 6 1/4. So that's how we get to this value here. And the x plus 3 over 2 squared, well, that just stays as it is, because that's in the form that we want it, because that's in the completed square form. So what does this answer here actually mean? So what it actually means is that the low point of this parabola here, which is here, is when x equals minus 3 over 2, because x plus 3 over 2 equals 0. What you would do is you take your 3 over 2 onto the other side and then change the sign to a minus. X would equal minus 3 over 2. So here the x value is minus 3 over 2, so basically minus 1.5, which would be somewhere here. Okay, so that's that. Then next, minus 6 1/4. What does that mean? Well, that's the y value of this line here. So if you carry on going along, that would be minus 6 1/4. So therefore we've deduced that the turning point of this parabola is when x equals minus 3 over 2 and y is minus 6 1/4. And that's what we can deduce by these calculations here. So now we've got x squared minus 2x minus 3, where a is 1, b is minus 2, c equals minus 3. Okay, so same thing again. Brackets around the x values, take out the x, which gives us x minus 2. So when you've got x minus 2 times x minus 2, you'll end up with x minus 4x. Well, we don't want x minus 4x, we want x minus 2x. So we then divide it by 2. So x minus 2 here, we just divide by 2, and then the squared, obviously, to get back to the x squared. And then to put the value back to the quadratic back to the correct value, the minus 2 over 2, we then subtract that to make it the same value as it was originally. And then minus 3 again, we just bring it down. Simplify these 2 over 2's. Well, we know 2 over 2 is just 1. So now x minus 2 over 2 squared just becomes x minus 1 squared. And the minus 2 over 2 squared, well, that's just minus 1 squared, which is just 1 minus 1. And then the minus 3 again comes down. So now we can sum these two together to give us our constant at the end of the equation. So x minus 1 squared, that's fine. And then minus 1 minus 3 is just minus 4. So again, what does this tell us? So this tells us that the low point of this quadratic is when x minus 1 equals 0, x equals 1. So that line there is going to go all the way up to 1, to plus 1. And then this minus 4 tells us that the y value of this turning point is at minus 4. So therefore we've deduced that the turning point, or the vertex, of this parabola, x squared minus 2x minus 3, is x equals 1 and y would equal minus 4. There we go. That's good. So we'll have a look at another one. So this one a little bit more complicated, but it's always good to try these, good to practice these ones. So this time we've got 3x squared plus 5x minus 12. So a's plus 3, b's plus 5, c equals minus 12. So again, brackets around the x values. So this time we've got 3x squared plus 5x, but we've got a 3 here. So first of all, we want to take this 3 out, so we get left with the x squared plus 5x. That's what we want to get back to. So now what we do, to take the 3 out of this, we take the 3 out of the factor 3 out of the x squared plus 5x, we get 3 times x squared, which is fine. So you multiply them two together, you get 3x squared again, which is fine. And then 3 times something to get 5x, well, you want 5 over 3x. So 3 times 5 over 3, 3 times 5 over 3 will give you back to 5x. So now we've got the 3 out, so we've got x squared plus 5x over 3, and then the minus 12 we just bring down. We're not going to mess around with that for a while yet. So now what we're going to do is, this x squared plus 5x over 3, we're going to factor out the x. So to factor out the x, for the x squared you just take out the x, and the 5x over 3, to take the x out of that, you've got 5 over 3. But as always, we need to half it. So half of 5 over 3 is 5 over 6. That's why we've got 5 over 6 here. So we've got the x plus 5 over 6 squared times by the 3. And this 5 over 6 here, we then need to subtract that amount to get back to the original value. Because if we didn't do that, again, as I mentioned before, we've changed the value. So this just then puts the value of the quadratic back to normal. So subtract 5 over 6 squared, and then the minus 12 carries on there. So now we just simplify it up a little bit more again. So again, the 3, that stays where it is. X plus 5 over 6 squared, that's just as it is, that's fine. So the 5 over 6 squared, or 5 squared, is 25. 6 squared, 36. So we're going to subtract 25 over 36, which is this one here. And don't forget, this is still multipliable by 3, because these brackets show that 3 still applies to the 25 over 36. And the minus 12 is still there. So simplifying up a little bit, so now we just want to have the 3 times by the x plus 5 over 6. So we've got 3 times x plus 5 over 6 squared, and we'll multiply the 3 by this 25 over 36 to get that into its correct form, so we can merge it with the minus 12. That's what we want to aim for in the next line. So 25 over 36 times 3 is just basically 25 over 12. So then we're left now with 3 times x plus 5 over 6 squared minus 25 over 12 minus 12 equals 0. So let's merge this 25 over 12 and minus 12. Well, 25 over 12 is just basically 2 and 1/12. 2 and 1/12 and minus 12, they come together to 14 and 1/12. So now we've got this one here. So this is our solution. 3 times x plus 5 over 6 squared minus 14 and 1/12 equals 0. So what does this tell us now? Well, the 3 here, you can not worry about that 3 now for here. What you're interested now is what's in these brackets. So x plus 5 over 6. So if we solve for x plus 5 over 6 equals 0, we get x equals minus 5 over 6. So the turning point here is going to be minus 5 over 6. That's going to be the x value. So that's where this value here is. And now what we want to know is what this value here is for the y value. And the y value is simply this one, which is minus 14 and 1/12. So what we know is the vertex, or the turning point of this parabola, is when x equals minus 5 over 6 and y equals minus 14 under 12. Okay, so that's good. So that complicated one there simplifies up, follow the steps, and it's quite a simple solution. Okay. So now we're going to just check the shortcut. So ax squared is our quadratic. This is what completing the square looks like, if you remember what they looked like earlier. And this is our little shortcut. And I'm going to leave you to check these yourself. But if you plug all the values in here, x squared plus 3x minus 4. So remember a is here, b is here, and c is here. So here a is 1, b is plus 3, and c is minus 4. So a times x plus b over 2a, that's your a, that's your x. B is plus 3, and 2a, 2 times 1 is 2, and squared, that's what we got here. And then plus c minus a times b over 2a squared. So plus c in this case is minus 4, and then b over 2a, which is the same as this one, which is 3 over 2. So, and they're going to multiply that by a. Well, a is just 1. So we've got the minus 1 here. And then the 3 over 2 squared. So I'm going to let you check this solution here. And what you'll find is you'll get to the same answer as when we did this one just in this form 3 slides ago. Next one, x squared minus 2x minus 3, where a is 1, b is minus 2, c equals minus 3. So here we go, we've got the a value, x, b, the 2a, the minus 3, which is the c value, that's the a value, and then again the b over 2a. And then the last one, 3x squared plus 5x minus 12, where a is this time 3, b is plus 5, c is minus 12. So we've got the a value, still with the x, b over 2 times a, 2 times 3 is 6, plus, which is what we got here, and then you subtract c, well, this minus c, so minus 12, so we got the minus 12 here, and then minus times a, which is 3, and then b over 2a, which is 5 over 6 squared. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to calculate those and check that that formula works. Okay. Right, well, thanks for watching. Any comments, leave below. Any solutions to a question you want to see, put them in the comment box below, and I'll do my best for you. And as always, please remember to subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching.